Good evening. Our top story this week. The Texas family court judge who beat the crap out of his daughter on a YouTube video has his suspension lifted so that he can continue to preside over child custody and child abuse cases. In Arizona, newly released data finds that the state's child welfare system hasn't improved despite policy changes, new CPS agents, and nearly $1 million spent on consultants over the last 2 years. In California, the LA County Child Protective Industry has new children's shelter built so that stolen kids don't have to sleep in the CPS office waiting room anymore. And in Washington, D.C., school officials have ratted out nearly 100 kids to CPS for skipping school. In Colorado, the child protective industry is under investigation for failure to protect kids who died while under the watchful eye of CPS agents. The federal government is withholding money from Georgia's child welfare system for poor performance after 2 CPS agents were arrested for manipulating data to ensure federal compliance. While a new report shows that 120 kids who are known to CPS have died in Georgia in the first 9 months of 2012. In Texas, the head of the child protective industry quits due to the fallout in a case where a mother starved her kid to death. In Washington, the state is asking parents who have adopted special needs kids to re-examine their finances and accept voluntary cuts to adoption subsidies. Tennessee's failure of a child welfare system is requesting an additional $5.6 million to hire more CPS agents. And teenagers in Kentucky are attempting suicide more often than kids in any other state. In India, a social worker is arrested after conning several British citizens into donating to a fake social welfare agency. And an Indian judge orders the uncle of 2 kids who were snatched from their parents in Norway to give them back to their mother. In Canada, the child protective industry in British Columbia is having problems with a glitchy $182 million computer system. In Saskatchewan, a 23-year-old man is found guilty of raping his 14-year-old foster sister. A teenage boy in Alberta is deemed fit to stand trial for molesting his young foster brother. And 3 people have been charged in connection with the sexual assaults of 3 girls from 2 separate foster homes in a southeastern Ontario village. A woman from Calgary, Alberta is sentenced to 2 years house arrest for falsely accusing her father of sexual assault. Alberta's child welfare system is targeting Aboriginal kids, with them making up 68% of the province's foster care system, but only 9% of the child population. And in Australia, the child protective industry is snatching kids from parents with intellectual disabilities before they even have the chance to screw up. In England this week, several members of the British Parliament think that social workers should be snatching even more kids from their parents, despite a 20% rise in care proceedings since the death of baby P. One British MP is accusing Kent police of failing to properly pursue child abuse allegations, and MP John Hemming is threatening to resign as the Liberal Democrat Party whip and sit as an independent unless the cover-ups within the child protective system start being treated more seriously. More than 80 people come forward to make allegations of sexual and physical abuse at a Catholic-run children's home in East Yorkshire. The National Crime Agency is mounting an investigation into allegations of sexual abuse at more children's homes in North Wales. But a British journalist isn't impressed, as these inquiries tend to be better for the politicians than they are for the abused kids. A British mother who went on the run with her kids instead of giving them back to their father loses her appeal to be reunited with them. Although recent law changes will give the children the right to see both parents after a divorce in the UK. In entertainment news this week, CPS agents go to visit the porn star The Octomom once again to see if they got into her Xanax before she went into rehab. Modern Family star Ariel Winter is snatched from her home after parental abuse allegations, which of course her mother denies. The British broadcasting system is under fire for falsely accusing an ex-politician of sexually abusing kids. And a court rules that Halle Berry can't move to France with her 4-year-old daughter because the move would take her away from her father. In California, a school principal is convicted of failing to report sexual abuse by a teacher. A California judge sentences a 70-year-old man to 4 years in jail for molesting a teenage girl who was in foster care. In Minnesota, a couple is accused of starving their 8-year-old adopted son by feeding him only liquid and putting an alarm on his door so he wouldn't steal food. And in Iowa, it is found that a real mother reported the adoptive parents for abuse 4 years before they locked the kid in the basement for a month for discipline. In Texas, a man is arrested for causing serious bodily harm to the 3 kids who he adopted. In Washington, a family law attorney was arrested on child porn charges. In Missouri, a man gets 15 years for sodomizing a boy while he was the director of a foster care agency. pregnancy. And in Oklahoma, 2 CPS agents are charged with suppression of evidence for their role in a case where a girl named Serenity Deal was killed by her foster mother. In Florida, a woman is finally standing trial for the murder of a 5-year-old foster child who went missing more than 10 years ago. 3 Florida juveniles are arrested after stolen property was found in the group home they were living in. The 17-year-old foster girl is speaking out about the affair with her Florida CPS agent, saying that he even offered her $1,000 to keep her mouth shut. And in New Mexico, a teacher is charged with sexual abuse 5 years after her husband was sentenced to 25 years for molesting several foster kids. In North Carolina, a father wants to know why CPS agents questioned and traumatized his daughter without parental permission in a case where a daycare is being probed for inappropriate discipline. In Maine, a 15-year-old runs away from her foster home. In Texas, a 13-year-old girl with cancer wants CPS out of her life so that her parents can make her medical decisions. And finally, tonight, a Texas CPS agent is charged with making a video of his rendezvous with a prostitute and posting it on the internet without the woman's consent. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.